Let's now talk about the role of sociocultural factors in identity making during a conversation or during learning a language. If we talk about the phenomena of learning a second language, we see that our identities in first language do interfere with the learning of a second language. There are scores of studies who talk about the interference of first language and its culture and identities in learning a second language. In this regard, we can cite an example from a research which was conducted in the Japanese context, where the American women working in Japan found it very hard to learn second language because of their L1 gender expectations or gender identities. They actually expressed the views that their L1 gender identities are a kind of obstacle in their way of learning the local Japanese language. Similarly, they realized that the culture was a major language barrier there. And while teaching to various Japanese students, they also found out that most of their L1 gender assumptions were reproduced, and they had to reproduce local Japanese gender assumptions in their teaching materials, which created a kind of conflict for them, and they found it very hard to adapt to local Japanese culture and to learn the local language. Non-native speakers of an L2 may seek to maintain their ethno-linguistic identity because they are probably afraid of the pressures coming from their L1 community. Because English is an international language, is a lingua franca, is spoken throughout the world, where it is sometimes even it borrows from various local languages, or local languages borrow from English. In such situations, some people have an internal pressure or social pressure that they have to maintain their local identity. Therefore, they would like to speak English language in their own way so that they do not receive undue pressure from their society. There is another perspective here. Some people would like to speak in foreign or native-like accent because they would not like to receive any pressure from any academic or intellectual community, which would probably consider them a non-native speaker, which in some circles, in social circles, may be considered as an inferior status. Therefore, they would try their best to speak like natives or native-like accents. Some of the examples of the maintenance of ethno-linguistic identity may also be found in the process of code switching, where we regularly switch code from local to foreign or foreign to local languages in order to maintain identity. There are certain aspects of our culture which could probably be said properly or expressed properly in our own language only. Therefore, even if we're speaking a second language, when we have to discuss those aspects, we return back to our own language. So code switching probably is one factor which could indicate the identity in our socio-cultural interaction. One of these examples was found in Al-Isa's research, which was conducted in 2003. And Al-Isa analyzed a conversation of 3 interviews who used the word God willing, Inshaallah, which is very popular in Muslim cultures. And when they were investigated thoroughly that why they use these words in their interactions, they say that it is a symbol of their Muslim identity probably, and they talked about the role of Islam and how Muslims should obey the rules of Islam. And use of this word, Inshaallah, probably is a reflection of Muslim identity, which can be found among Muslims living anywhere in the world. They may be speaking any language, English, Urdu, Punjabi, Persian, or Arabic, they would regularly use the word Inshaallah. So Inshaallah has become a marker of Muslim identity. In order to understand this phenomena further, we probably can have a deep look into our own daily talk, where we cite various examples, or we cite various quotes. And these quotes come from various sources, for example, from religious, historical, socio-cultural, or from the words of the people we are influenced by in our lives. So if you look at these examples or quotes, you would see that most of it is related to our socio-cultural or political identity. So therefore, we might conclude that we construct our identities through our uses of language.